Namaste. Welcome back to another session on Tattvabodha. We are examining a Prakarana grantha, which is a type of introductory text to Advaita Vedanta. Tattvabodha starts off, we have seen in the last three sessions, we have seen what are the components, what is the purpose of Tattvabodha, who is an adhikari, and then we are moving on to the next chapter in the Prakarana grantha in the textbook, Atma Tattva Vivekaha. As we have seen in the past, Vedanta talks about the relationship between three entities. One is the Jiva, self, the individual self, Jiva, Jagat, the nature, the existence that the Jiva perceives and experiences, and the Paramatma or Parabrahman. So, Jiva, Jagat, Brahman, the relationship, the triangular relationship between these three is examined by Vedanta. It is a framework of understanding what is the nature of this existence and so many existential questions that we have talked before. So, as usual, we start off like any Prakarana grantha or any grantha with Mangalacharanam. Let us start off with the Mangalacharana in this session also. Vasudevendra Yogindram Natva Jnanapradam Gurum Mumukshunam Hitarthaya Tattvabodha Abhidiyate. We have seen the qualifications of the adhikari in the last sessions. The last session ended with Etat Sadhana Chatushtayam. This is Sadhana Chatushtayam. These are four qualifications of the adhikari, of the seeker of Tattvabodha. Tataha Tattvaviveka adhikarinaha bhavanti. Thereafter, which means after having acquired these fourfold qualities, the seeker becomes a adhikari. The seeker is qualified to move on to examine the nature of this triangular relationship between Jiva, Jagat and Brahman. So, let us see what the second chapter of Tattvabodha is talking about. Atma Tattva Viveka, that is the name of the second chapter. Tattva Vivekaha Kaha. Tattva Vivekaha Kaha. So, Tattvabodha is the name of the Prakarana grantha. In that, the author is posing the question Tattva Vivekaha Kaha. Viveka means to discriminate, to discern between what? In this context, to discriminate between what is real and what is unreal, what is Atman, what is Anatman. The key to this Viveka is not to grasp Atman, because you cannot grasp Atman. It is not an object to grasp the Atman. It is the subject of the subject. It is an infinite regress. You cannot go all the way back. It is like a rabbit hole. You see, when I say subject, the subject is the one who experiences, right? I am the subject of the outside objects. So, when you try to grasp the subject, another subject comes in and says, I am the subject, and there is another subject behind it. So, it is an infinite regress. So, you can never go back and grasp the ultimate subject, but you can attain that, you can understand that supreme subject or supreme intelligence or supreme consciousness by negating all that is not real. So only by negation you attain that state where there is no more questions, there is no more bondage, there is only moksha. Moksha always exists, but it is covered by ajnana or avidya. The only way to attain that supreme knowledge is by understanding, is by negating all that is ajnana. So let us see what the author is saying here in the second chapter of Tattvabodha. Atma satyah tadanyat sarvam mithya iti. Atma satyah tadanyat sarvam mithya iti. So this is the viveka. Atma satyam, Atman alone is real. Everything else is unreal. This is called Tattva Vivekaha. So as you can see, this Tattvabodha chapter is in the form of a question and answer for the convenience of the student, of the seeker. So Tattva Vivekaha kaha? What is Tattva Viveka? Answer: Atma satyah tadanyat sarvam mithya iti. Then if Atma is Satyam, what is Atma? Atma kaha? Atma kaha? What is Atman? What is or who is Atman? Here comes an interesting definition, so to say, of Atman. Because you can never define an Atman because it is not an object to define. But you can approach it by way of negation. That is what the author is trying to accomplish here. Sthula, it goes like this. Sthula Sukshma Karana Sharirad Vetiriktaha Panchakosha Atitas San Avasthatraya Sakshi Sachidananda Rupas San Yathishtati Sa Atma. I will break it down and see what the author is saying. Sthula Sukshma Karana Sharirad Vetiriktaha Panchakoshatitaha San Avasthatraya Sakshi Sat Chit Ananda Rupas San Satchit Ananda Rupaha San Yathishtati Saha Atma. See, Atma, if you look at the grammar part of Vyakarana part of it, it is a Nakaranta Punlinga Shabdaha. Nakaranta Punlinga Atman Shabdaha. Atma, Atmanau, Atmanaha, Atmanam, Atmanau, Atmanaha. It goes like that. So, Atma, Atman is the Pratipadikam. It is the root word. From there comes Atma Shabdaha. That is why Saha Atma. It is a masculine gender when in fact there is really no gender, but because they had to ascribe, Brahman is a neuter gender, whereas Atma, Atman is a masculine gender. But don't get confused between, if it is a masculine gender, it is a male. It is not. It has no gender. It is not even neuter because it's not an object to have a gender. For the sake of this discussion, we have these terms ascribed, these terms given to something that has no, that is completely abstract, that has no objective, no, that which is not an object. So, Sthula Sukshma Karana Sharirad Vetiriktaha Panchakosha Atitaha San Avasthatraya Sakshi Sat Chit Ananda Rupaha Yaha Tishtati Saha Atma. Let us break it down and see what they are actually talking about. You will see how the author comes through negation, sometimes through positive descriptors. Sharira, so Shariram, the body in Vedanta is described in three ways: Sthula Shariram, Sukshma Shariram, Karana Shariram. Sthula Shariram, gross body; Sukshma Shariram, subtle body, Karana Shariram, also called causal body. These English terms are somewhat confusing because they don't really grasp the essence of it. But for the sake of this discussion, for the sake of expression, for the sake of transmission of this knowledge, we have to use terms. So, Sthula Shariram, Sukshma Shariram, Karana Shariram, Vyatiriktaha, that which is beyond all these Shariram, all these bodies. Pancha Koshatitaha, Pancha Koshaha. Kosha means sheet. Our body in Vedanta is described in many ways, through layers, to sections, through sheets, and so on. Panchakosha atitaha, that which is beyond the 5 sheets. Avastatraya sakshi. Avastatraya, 3 avastas, 3 states of realities, which is the waking state, the dream sleep state, and the deep sleep state. So these 3 states are called avastatraya, 3 avastas. Sat, Chit, Ananda, Rupaha. So Sat, Chit, Ananda, Rupaha, Sharira, Trayam, Kosha, Panchakam, Jagat. Okay, the 3 states are Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti. Jagrat is the waking state, Swapna is the dream state, and Sushupti is the deep sleep state, where you actually don't experience, where the mind is quiescent, where you are breathing, but you have no perception of the external world. That is the state of Sushupti. So that which is beyond all these 3 states is Atma. Atma. Then comes a positive descriptor, Sat, Chit, Ananda, Rupaha. Sat, Chit, Anandaha. Infinite consciousness bliss. This is the usual stock translation for this Satchidananda Rupaha. Yaha Tishtati, that which is Saha Atma, that is Atma. So this definition, when you unpack and explain it, it becomes an entire grantha in Vedanta. But this is the compact definition. So, Sthula Sukshma Karana Sharirad Vyatiriktaha, Panchakosha Atita San, Avastatraya Sakshi, Satchidananda Rupas San Yathishtati Saha Atma. So, that is how the Vedantins describe Atma. Sthula Shariram Kim. Next comes Sthula. So, you can see the author of Tattvabodha starts unpacking to a certain extent, not to a deep extent, to a certain extent. Sthula Shariram Kim. What is Sthula Sharira? What is the gross body? Sthula Shariram Kim. What is the gross body? Now comes a whole explanation of Sthula Sharira. Advaita Vedanta Prakarana Granthas go into, like for example, Panchadashi. Panchadashi goes into a much deeper detail into what is all the Sthula Shariram and all those things. But here the author of Tattvabodha gives a very concise and summarized account of all of these terms here. Sthula Shariram Kim? Panchikruta Pancha Mahabhutaihi Krutam Bhutaihi Kritam Sat Karma Janyam Sukha Dukkadi Bhogayatanam Shariram. This is the definition of Shariram according to a certain school of Vedanta called Advaita Vedanta. Panchikruta Pancha Mahabhutaihi Kritam Sat Karma Janyam Sukha Dukkadi Bhogayatanam. Ayatanam means the abode, the receptacle, the abode of Sukha Dukkadi Bhogayatanam Shariram. Asti jayate vardhate viparinamate apakshiyate vinashyati iti shad vikaravat etat sthula shariram. Shad vikaravat etat sthula shariram. So this is the definition given by Tattvabodha for sthula sharira. Panchikruta panchamahabhutaihi kritam. Panchamahabhutaha, the five elements. After they have gone, the five elements, even before, this is talking about the evolution of the individual. This is not to be confused with the Darwinian evolution. This is an evolution given as a framework to explain the Advaita Vedantins concept of the body, the Jagat, or the Jiva, Jagat and the Brahman. So, Panchikruta Panchamahabhutaihi, Panchikrutam, that is a prakriya, that is a process by which these five elements, air, water, fire, space, ether, these five elements combine in a certain form, in a certain combination, in a certain ratio to form different elements, different indriyas, jnanendriya, karmendriya and so on, to form the human form and the faculties associated with the human form. So, through this process of Panchikaranam, the five elements conjoin, unite in a certain ratio to give rise to the Shariram. This is one way of expressing. The second part of this definition is Sukha Dukkhadi Bhoga Ayatanam Shariram. The abode in which Sukha Dukkha happens, the polarities of life, happiness and sorrow, pain and pleasure, good and bad, all the polarities in different ratios, in a spectrum from one end to another end, everything happens in the body and hence it is called ayatanam, means abode. And then the third part of this definition of shariram is asti shad vikaravat etad, shad vikaravat. So the body undergoes 6 changes through its life cycle. From birth to death, there are 6 stages or 6 stages that it undergoes in this cycle of birth and death. So he is describing what are these 6 stages. These are called Shad Vikaraha. Asti, Jayate, Vardhate, Viparinamate, Apakshiyate, Vinashyati. Asti, present. Jayate, born. Vardhate, starts growing. Viparinamate, starts changing. Apakshiyate, starts disintegrating or decomposing. Vinashyati, gone, death. So from asti through vinashyati, the 6 stages, that which undergoes these 6 stages is the body. So sthula shariraha, sthula shariram kim panchikruta panchamahabhutaihi kritam sat karmajanyam. Satkarmajanyam, I missed that part. Satkarmajanyam means this body is born as a result of the past karmas, past life karmas. So in Hindu philosophy, there is a concept called karma, and it is a bigger topic, but I will give you very briefly what karma and what are the components of that. Karma is of 3 types. You see, these are only terms given to a particular quality of karma or a type of karma. Karma is of 3 types. Sanchita karma, prarabdha karma and agami karma. Sanchita karma means that karma which is accumulated from the past either it is your past in this life or past in the past lives. Sanchita karma, prarabdha karma, the karma that has started to give its result. From the sanchita karma, that accumulated karma, a certain portion starts giving the result at this present moment. That is called prarabdha. Prarabdha, that has started to give the result, is prarabdha karma. And the third type of karma is agami karma. Agami means that which is going to happen in the future. So that part of the sanchita karma, that karma that you are doing right now, it will start giving results in the future. That is called agami karma. So satkarma janyam, because of the good deeds that you have done in the past life, you are born as a human being. That is the philosophy of Vedanta. And because of that, you are born in this body, in this shariram. That is this one part of this definition, right? Panchikrita panchamahabhutaihi kratam satkarmajanyam sukha dukkadi bhogayatanam shariram asti jayate vardhate viparinamate apakshiyate vinashyati iti shad vikaravat etad sthula shariram. So this author is describing what is sthula shariram in this. So next comes Sukshma Shariram. Sukshma Shariram Kim? What is Sukshma Sharira? What is the subtle body? The response goes like this, given by the author of Tattvabodha. Apanchikruta panchamahabhutaihi kritam sat karmajanyam sukha dukkadi bhoga sadhanam pancha gnanendriyani pancha karmendriyani pancha pranadayah manaschaikam buddhischaika evam saptadasha kalabhihi saha attishtati tat sukshma shariram. So here the author gives numerous descriptors for Sukshma Shariram. What are they? Number 1, Apanchikrutam Panchamahabhutaihi Kritam. Before we talked about the Panchikaranam, right? The 5 primordial elements: air, water, fire, earth and space. The 5 elements combined together to form the gross body. Before this happens, that process is called apanchikruta panchamahabhutaihi bhutaihi kritam. Sat karmajanyam. Again, like the Sthula Sarira, Sat karmajanyam, we talked about the karma, the 3 types of karma, and the result of the right or virtuous deeds in the past karma led to the birth of the human body, and that process is the result of that is sat karma janyam sukha dukkhadi bhoga sadhanam. See, earlier we have seen sukha dukkadi bhoga ayatanam, the abode of sukha dukkha, of the polarities of life. This one is sukha dukkadi bhoga sadhanam, the tool for this sukha dukkadi bhoga sadhanam, the tool for manifestation or for the experience of this sukha and dukkha.